Okay.
Okay, this week's parsha is Parshas Ki-Tetze. Ki-Tetze is full of mitzvos. Excellent. We have this is one of the most mitzvahs just about in any parsha. So it's a hard call. Where do you start from? But one mitzvah we'll start with is Micah. Micah is that there's a mitzvah to build a fence. To build a fence on your roof. Let's see the pasuk inside. The pasuk starts in Perek Chaf Beis pasuk Ches. Perek Chaf Beis pasuk Ches, which is on page.
Hello.
Hey Mike, okay. We're just getting up to the pasuk here. Page 1050. So, we have one mitzvah here which is to build a fence. So it's pasuk Ches, verse 8. So it says, Kisivna bayis chadash. If you build a new house, V'alsisa maika ligagecha. You shall make a fence. It's called a Micah, right? This is the mitzvah called Micah for your gag. A gag is a roof. So when you build a new house, right? The Medrash actually says, that the mitzvahs accompany us wherever we go. Medrash says if you buy a new house, you get a mitzvah of Micah, you get a mitzvah of mezuzah. You put on clothes. You have to make sure you're not wearing shatnez.
Most people don't access the roof of their house.
It's expensive.
So,
well, it depends if it's if it's. I guess it would be dependent if it's able to be lived upon, if you're able to walk on there.
right.
That could be true. Although when you see people doing the roofs, I don't know. You see them standing on the roof there. You know how they put on the
rooftop
the tiles. I don't know. I'm not sure if they would be able to walk on that roof. Because the claim is that maybe it's not usable, but I don't know how they're able to walk up there.
On your roof, you certainly can't walk around.
Yeah, you can't walk if it's very steep.
We're assuming a flat roof that's accessible.
Right.
Like in Jerusalem.
Right. A lot of the roofs in Jerusalem, right? You go up to the apartments, and the top of the roof is actually like they have a boiler up there, or one of the sun they convert to energy, different things, but you can walk around. People make a sukkah up there. So that would be a classic case. But it depends on every building. Apartment buildings may be more. Different schools.
But it only applies to the roof. It doesn't apply to like a balcony.
A balcony. So how would that look?
It would be sticking up in the middle of the house. It's not a roof.
Yeah, that would probably also be the same, right? If it would be anywhere which would be such a type of area.
It seems like a safety precaution from Torah.
Right.
Well, why would they say roof? Why wouldn't they say when you build a house, any place that's exposed to danger, put a fence on it? Why would they say roof?
Well, the roof would be the classic case.
That's the highest.
Yeah, it's a classic case of a high place.
Okay.
Let's see. We'll see how the pasuk says it and Rashi says it. Let's see. So the pasuk says, look at the pasuk. It's a stunning pasuk. So when you build a new house, so you should make a fence for your roof. So the pasuk continues, "Veloisasim domim biveisecha." You shall not place domim. What's dam?
Blood.
What?
Blood.
Blood. Don't put any blood in your house, which means don't cause anyone to get killed. And therefore, ki yipol hanoifel mimenu, because someone might fall from it.
But it says if a fallen one falls from it.
Right. Now, the Rashi brings down what's the idea. If a fallen one falls from it, what do you mean? It should say, because someone might fall.
Yeah. But he's destined to fall.
Fall is to die.
So,
The fall is to die. But why say, because a fall, the pasuk says, ki yipol hanoifel.
Like a fallen
it shouldn't
soldier.
fall on your roof.
Fallen might fall.
He's going to fall, but why should it be your roof? Let it be somewhere else.
So Rashi says that he's a noifel. Noifel means he's destined to fall. He's supposed to fall. There is a calculation, cheshbon, why he should fall. But just because he's supposed to fall doesn't
you
mean
don't have to fall with him.
doesn't mean it has to be off of your roof.
Yeah.
You are, if you do that, then you are causing him to fall.
Right.
So therefore, you better make sure you put up a fence, because the rule is called mizgalgal, right? It's called, if you don't put up a fence, Rashi brings down, you shouldn't cause it through your hand, because the rule is megalgal in zchus ayidei zakai, that Hashem brings about a good merit through someone who's good, right? Let's say, let's say I help you get a job, so they say, like, Hashem brings about the merit through people who are meritorious. So that's one idea for the merit, for the good. But it says also megalgal and choiv al yidei chayev. That also megalgal and Hashem rolls a choiv, something which is negative, He brings about through a chayev, through someone who is guilty,
Negligent.
Right. So someone who will be negligent, right? So therefore he's becoming negligent, and he is sort of like a guilty one. So Hashem brings out bad through someone who is doing bad. Like, you're a little bit of the cause. Hashem brings out good through good people and bad through bad people. So megalgal and zchus like de zakai, He brings good through good people. So you make sure you put up a fence in order not to cause the bad. Should it be megalgalin choiv ayidei chayev? That's the idea that Rashi brings down of kipul hanoifel. Now, it's also an interesting idea that if you look at the order of the psukim, so it's interesting. Rashi just brings down a nice idea that why does this come after the sending away of the bird? So Rashi says mitzvah causes a mitzvah. You do one mitzvah, you get another mitzvah. So here you just did shiluach hakein. So that will cause you will end up building a house. You build a house, you'll be able to do the mitzvah of putting up a fence. Because a mitzvah causes a mitzvah. Then you'll have a vineyard, so you'll be able to now plant the right way, and you'll have clothes, and it keeps on going. So that's a rule Rashi brings down. A mitzvah causes a mitzvah. And, you have to see, you'll see how it comes out sometimes in life. You meet one person and he says, sometimes you have to look at the right way. He asks you for a ride. Mitzvah causes it's a mitzvah. Okay, so that's the Rashi on that. And just to show you the bottom line on the first column in Rashi, what a micah is, because it's an interesting word. It's not a commonly used word, except for in this mitzvah. So the bottom line of the first column in Rashi says micah geder, right? Over here he says together. It's a fence, right? Over here it should be geder soviv legag. It's a fence surrounding your roof. And he brings down that onkelos. He says an interesting thing. If you look at the onkelos says you should make tiyaka, taf yud kuf, like a tick. Tiyaka. What's a tick? So a tick is, if you ever go to Israel, you'll see tick is like a bag. Right? Teak. Sorry. A tick is a bag, right? Which means it holds what's inside. Rashi says, "Shem mishamer ma shebesachai." A tick watches what's inside you, right? You want to hold on to all your stuff. You put it in a bag. A bag will hold on to all your things. So the tick guards what's inside. So too, here you have the tick, the micah. The micah has the same root of the word tick. So you have a fence which guards you from falling off. Okay. So that's the idea, and we have the idea in that pasuk of that loisasim domim beveisecha, to make sure that, as Mike is pointing out, it's not just a plain mitzvah without a reason given, but there seems to be an illusion that don't put any danger in your house. The Gemara learned out from here two practical examples of danger. Make sure you don't have in your house a wild dog. Not allowed to have a bulldog, right? Is that what it's a bulldog?
No, the ones now are the
wild dog would be like
pitbull.
Pitbull.
Yeah.
Pitbull. Can't have a pitbull, yeah.
My mom had a wolf in her house, a half wolf, half German Shepherd, which was the best dog she ever had.
You better get out of that house.
No, she was a chocolate.
Wow. So that's interesting. The Gemara brings two examples on the pasuk leisasim damim beveisecha. Don't put blood. A wild dog. Right? Gemara says kelev ra, it's called. Gemara calls it a kelev ra. Evil dog, which I'm calling a pit bull. Or are you calling a wolf, half wolf?
Could be a bad heart.
And the Gemara says another case. The Gemara says a case of a talking about a mica. And leisasim damim b'veisecha, you can't put blood in your house. You cannot have a rickety ladder, a ladder which could fall and bend under. Because if you have that in your house, that's asking for trouble. Someone could climb up there, and then as he's a few feet up, it could fall and he could hurt himself.
An accident waiting to happen.
Yeah. So you're not allowed to even have it in your house, right? Which means the Gemara goes out from this pasuk, leisasim damim b'veisecha, means don't put the blood in your house. So the Gemara says you can't own it. You can't own a bad dog in your house. You can't even keep it in your house.
Right.
Because you're setting it up. Okay.
That's a little arbitrary, isn't it? Who's to say what's a bad dog and what's not? Maybe I have a big dog, but he's the friendliest dog, but you're scared of him because he's big.
You know, it's funny. All dog owners say, my dog is the friendliest dog.
Yeah. Until he turns.
Yeah, I'll hate him say I hate dogs, so.
He never bit anybody before.
I read him all the time. Oh, this dog is the friendliest dog. Yeah, then the first time, you know. Gotta watch out. So on a wild dog, which you'll have to speak to, you know, the dog experts, but you know, I grew up near a public school, and there was these people used to hang out in the schoolyard, and one of them had like this big pit bull. Like it's a real
those are vicious.
It's a real mazik, a real danger.
But a German Shepherd, let's say.
So we'll have to speak to you know, to the experts. But
they're scary looking, but they're very, and the IDF uses them. They're very trainable and obedient.
Okay, we'll have to find out.
Loyal.
Any of these animals, which if they're liable and they're sometimes prone to do any dangerous biting, you have to watch out for them. That would be maybe an avera of this loisase. This is a negative commandment.
Kelev is the root is from the heart.
That's right. So
it's a man's best friend.
So you can have a kelev tov, kelev. It's like a lave. Yeah, you're right. If you have a good dog, but a kelev ra. Once you get to the dogs that could be very vicious and could just go wild, so that the pasuk is saying a losase. Losase, right? Besides for Micah is a positive commandment. Put up a fence.
Right.
But losasim is a losase, negative commandment. You're not allowed to keep it in your house, together with a ladder that's dangerous. And you can expound from here. These are the two cases the Gemara gives, but we have to expound on your own to other cases. Rabbi Victor Miller used to say, if you have like on a second floor or something, and the window opens, and there's no gate, and there's kids around, that would be part of the pasuk of Lo Sasam Dam Beveisecha, because the kid could be liable to fall out. And, you know, he would say, you know, if someone falls out, and then the parents, and then they'll say, "Oi, we're so sorry," you know. If you were so sorry, he says, "Yeah, you should have put a gate, you should have put a fence in there before." That's called guilty from the beginning. So you have to expound to all these different types of things. You have to keep it from any danger. Also, you know, any medicine, it always says keep it, you know, out of the reach of children, or any cleaning types of fluids, you know, like all these types of floor washing and Ajax and Clorox. So it's dangerous. You have to keep out of reach of children. I think that would go under leisasum dam b'veisecha. Okay. So it's interesting how you have a loisa say together with the asay, together with the positive commandment, the negative commandment, but they go hand in hand. Now the question will be here, first let's talk about what type of house is obligated in the mitzvah, right? So what's the minimum requirement for something to be called a house?
The size of a sukkah.
Size of the house, right? So how much is the size of the house?
It's about 2 feet tall. And
because the Devarim is saying, well, has to be daled amos by daled amos, 4 amos by 4 amos, 4 amos, which would be, let's say, 7 feet by 6 feet. Let's say 6 feet by 6 feet. Once you get that is the minimum size, then already that is called a house, and that has repercussions for mezuzah.
Based on that, I have a mansion.
Yeah. So now you have the minimum requirements. It's called a house. You're chayav in mezuzah. You have to put up a mezuzah on the door. And now, but the second thing is that would obligate one in Micah, in a fence, because of now that is the minimum size. Now, the question is, what about a shul? What about a shul? Would a shul have to put a fence on the roof?
Absolutely.
Of course. Could be kosher.
What's kosher?
The shul, it's a bet knesset.
It could be kosher, but the question is there an obligation to put the truth is there's even a question about mezuzah, but we're not going to speak about mezuzah tonight. But let's speak about
If you build
base
a new,
measures.
if you build a new house, maybe
Yeah, then what?
it has to be your house.
If you build-
a big Knesset is a community house.
A Beis HaKnesset, right, it's not your house. Let me see the Gemara Chulin.
Yeah, but the keeper of the bet knesset is responsible to make sure it's safe and up to code and all that.
Oh, but is there an obligation? The question is there's a mitzvah? Is there a special mitzvah?
I think the mitzvah would lend itself here too. Like you want to make sure that the windows aren't easy for kids to fly out of, you know.
It's true. So you're saying the idea behind the mitzvah is very relevant. The idea is very relevant. That's true, for sure.
Whether or not this particular mitzvah applies to a shul, there's going to be another mitzvah somewhere that says you have to have safety precautions.
Oh, so maybe, it could be, we can split it. That the losa say of don't put blood in your
There
house,
you go.
maybe that would obligate you to put up a fence. But it seems, let me read you how the Gemara says it.
Why does it say blood in your house if a fallen one falls from it? It's almost after the fact. If a fallen one...
Because a fallen one is someone who's going to fall. And the question is, do you want him to fall in your house or do you want him to fall somewhere else? He's destined to fall.
I mean, the way in English, the way I see it in English, it's almost, it's like it's a done deed already.
Yeah, that's right. He's
I would-
destined to fall.
He is.
We
I don't know if the Hebrew is the same.
Well, yeah, you could either say ki, because ki yipol hanoifel, because if you don't have a fence there, then yipol hanoifel, the one who's
He
destined
surely
to fall,
doesn't. Okay.
he will fall. You're going to be the cause for him to fall, even though he will be from Hashem. He's supposed to fall because of the calculations, but you shouldn't be giving him any opportunity.
I think the parsec's saying that when you build a structure, you have to make sure it's safe.
Right.
And,
It's true.
And it goes to anything, stores or schools or anything.
So maybe yeah, it's true. No, for sure it has to be safe. The question is, would there be? Do you get a mitzvah for putting up a fence on a shul? So let me read you a Gemara. The Gemara says, Micah, Gemara in Chulin, says Micah, a fence. Right. That's this what we're talking about. By the way, the fence should be 10 tefachim high. 10 tefachim high is like from here, from the ground. So the Gemara says, now we read the words you should put a Micah ligagecha. What's ligagecha? How do you translate that into English?
To you or something.
Let's look back at the
Gog
pasuk.
is a roof.
Oh, good. To your roof, right?
Yeah.
That's what the pasuk says. Ligagecha. So the Gemara learns out it has to be yours, but not shutfus. If you're a partner, if you own the house with someone else, so then the Gemara says yeah, so we learn out even Gemara says ki yipol hanoifel, that a fallen one falls, any roof which someone may fall, like Mike is saying, tells me that even though it might not be my gag alone, my roof alone, you still have to put up a fence. But the Gemara says, what does the word gagecha, your roof, come to exclude? It comes to exclude a shul, bate knesias, a beis haknesses, a shul. It's excluding, right? These buildings are not gagecha. Gagecha is your roof. It's not your roof.
Not yours.
Because it's publicly
Not your
owned.
problem.
It's publicly owned.
There's a steward to maintain it and keep it.
Yeah, but he doesn't own it. It's not
He's responsible.
It's not gagecha. We can't say it's your roof.
Somebody's roof.
Whose is it? It's public. It's the public's.
No, it's not public.
Whose are they?
It's not public because if some Muslim group wants to come and set up a location on your roof and a shul, you're going to say, no, you can't come there. It's our property.
Well, it's in Israel. I think it's different. I think they are public in Israel.
Yeah, but okay, fine. The Jews at large together, maybe, but
Well, the buildings are bought.
it's interesting. Let me read you Rashi because Rashi seems to say this as the first alternative. Rashi says, Bate Knesiyos, Beis HaKnesses, which is a shul, she'ein chelek le'echad mehen boy. Rashi says, ein chelek, there is not a specific portion, there is not a portion to any one in it. She'af lebnei ever hayamhu. Because he says, let's say a visitor comes in from out of town, right? Could he come daven in the shul?
Sure. Yeah.
But he doesn't own it, doesn't own any part of it. So, where's the ownership? So Rashi's saying here, yeah, but there is no ownership involved. It could be someone owns it, right? And it
Someone's
could be
paying the taxes.
It could be someone is. We could prevent other people from coming in terms of other religions. But Rashi says, but someone who comes from Aver Layam, from overseas, he could come in and daven here. He could just walk right in.
Hopefully.
He could. So Rashi says he could. She'ein chelek le'echad mehen boy. Because no one has like a shear that I own this, this room, right? I own this room and I'm going to say, no, that person can't come in. That's Rashi's first idea. That's what Rashi says. The next thing Rashi says is that a second idea, it's not the base dira. It's not a dira means the place where you live. So just like mezuzahs has to do with where you live, so Rashi says a fence also needs a place where you're living. So Rashi says a shul, you don't live there. It's not your place where you sleep there. Therefore you are pater from putting up a fence.
So let me ask you something. You're walking on the street, you see an open manhole. Do you have an obligation to put the lid back on? Or can you say, hey, it's public property, not my problem?
So you have a mitzvah. To cover it. Yeah, for sure. Right. That's a bar. Right.
Right. So that's the same mitzvah that would apply to putting a fence on a roof of a shul.
Well, you get a mitzvah of maybe protecting danger.
Right, but not this mitzvah.
But maybe not the mitzvah of Micah.
So what's the difference? It's a mitzvah's a mitzvah.
No, yeah, but the question is, do you also get a mitzvah of Micah? Let's say there would be a bracha, right? Could you make a bracha of, I want to share kiddushanu b'mitzvahs v'tivanu la'asais Micah?
Is there a mitzvah? Is there a bracha like that?
I believe so. We can look up the chumash.
Putting up a fence on a house?
Yes.
Seriously?
Yeah. No, I'm serious. I think so. We could just here. I'll have a siddur.
Where they have the mitzvah of
with all the lighting and all that stuff, and the king, and
I believe it's la'asais Micah.
Around 220 something.
I believe the bracha is la'asais Micah, but.
Here they are.
And here you go. Asher kiddushanu b'mitzvahs v'tivanu la'asos Micah.
Look at that.
To make a Micah.
Whoa. Haven't said that one. Construct a parapet. Wow. That's unbelievable.
Now, the truth is, what you're asking is, you're actually intending on what the Chazon Ish asked.
The houses back then were, I guess it was normal to go up on the roof and utilize the roof.
Put your sukkah.
Maybe, but even if at least sporadically a person will use their roof. On that case, right? Let's say a fellow wants to get a suntan, so decides today I'm going up to the roof, or I want to see something from far away. By 9/11, everyone was going on their roof to see if you could see something, from wherever you were, right? Let's say you happen to go on your roof. So then you have a problem, right? The pasuk is scared. Lo sasim damim b'veisecha. Can't put blood in your house. So right then, a person could fall off. So even if it would be sporadically, he has a mitzvah to make a Micah.
Think about the old city. It's all rooftops.
Question then, so a person, are we talking specifically a yid?
The owner of the house?
No. That a person that would fall off. Let's say I hire a roofer, and that's his profession, and he falls off my roof. I'm just asking.
I was just saying that before. He said, what happens when these guys are putting the tiles on? How come you have a fence?
I don't understand. That's a little
very
dangerous.
Very dangerous.
There's certain mitzvahs, so every Shabbos for Pekud Nefesh is for a Yid only. It's not for a Jew.
You could save, if someone's in danger, you could save a Jew, right, on Shabbos.
Right. As opposed to, you're not allowed to unless there's repercussions and everything else. But So,
Right.
so do you have to build the roof to protect a Jew from falling, or anybody from falling?
Well, it depends what do you mean? You want to know if a different Jew will be on your roof?
No.
Yourself
Or
or
Gentile.
another Jew, or a
If
Gentile.
another Jew will
What
be on
about
your
a
roof,
Gentile?
then also. If another Jew will be on your roof, you have an obligation because it says Ve'osisa Maika Legagecha, which means you have to put
On
a
your
fence
roof.
on your roof. I
It
would
doesn't say
anyone.
for-
It doesn't
so-
say who it's
Doesn't
for.
matter.
It doesn't matter as
So
long as there's a usable roof, right? And I would say, even if let's say you say I'm not going on the roof, I'm never going on the roof, that you have a roof, so it qualifies for a fence.
So there's a blessing for putting up a roof, fence. But there's not one for chasing the bird away. And there's not one
Now,
for the vineyard.
how do you know there's no one for chasing the bird
Well,
away?
I'm asking. It's a question.
So that is a big argument. When you chase the mother bird away, is there a bracha? Because it's a real mitzvah.
Huge.
So they argue about it. The Rashba has a whole question, and back and forth. When you send it away, should you make the bracha? So because it's a mitzvah, and the Rabbanan said, all the rabbis said, make a bracha whenever you do a mitzvah.
Right.
Now, the Rashba says an idea.
We don't do for tzedakah. We don't.
That's a difference.
The same
That's
Rashba says that by shaluch, by giving charity, you don't make a bracha because he says the man might refuse you. He might say, "That's."
That's why I say it could be a bracha levatala.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
You're going to give me 50 cents. What am I going to do with change? He tells you, don't keep the change.
Okay, can't you do an after blessing?
You don't get so therefore the bracha might be in vain. So the Rashba says that's why we don't make brachas on a lot of mitzvos which are between man and his friend, like doing bikur cholim, visiting a sick friend. It's a mitzvah from the Torah. We learn out from Abraham.
Right.
God came to visit
You
Abraham.
say a blessing?
Now, it's a mitzvah, bikur cholim, but we don't say a blessing. So the Rashba says the same reason, because you might come, knock on the door, hello,
Not home.
You might not be accepted so nicely.
Or-
Maybe recovered.
or
Or
he might
not
just
be
say,
there, or you're not.
not today,
Yeah.
no thanks, no visitors, please. He said, no, but I want to do a mitzvah. I want to help you out. No, so since he could refuse, the Rashba says we don't make a bracha on a lot of these interpersonal types of mitzvos because it might be refused. So that's what he says over there. Mishloach manos is also a similar on Purim, similar idea. You might just refuse your mishloach manos. Okay, there's a lot to go into, but the Rashba there, that's one specific responsa that he writes. Now, there's another responsa. I'm not sure if it's in the same number or a different place, but there he says by shiluach hakein, by sending away. It's called shiluach hakein, sending away the mother bird. The Rashba says that the rabbis did not make an enactment of making a bracha on it because it's a little bit like it shouldn't seem that it's an obligation that you have to go search out the mother bird in order to send the mother bird away. It's like
We talked about this a few weeks ago. It was one of the other.
Oh, we spoke a little bit about, right.
Is it a mitzvah to go into the forest and search for
So the Rashba holds that it's not an obligation that you have to go find a bird and take the eggs. If you happen to need eggs, then you have a mitzvah to send away the mother bird. But it's not an obligation. Go find the bird because you're going to send away the bird, and then take the kids, and the mother feels bad. So Rashba says we don't make a bracha on such a thing. Similar, he says, by returning a stolen object. He says, if someone steals something, they have a mitzvah to give it back. V'heshiv es hakzela. So he says the rabbis didn't make a bracha on that mitzvah of returning a stolen object, even though that's also a positive commandment. Okay, so you don't make a bracha on that, but some people say yes, some people say no, but because there's a whole controversy, so we end up coming out with the rule, what do you do when you have a doubt in terms of a blessing? So we don't say it. So therefore you won't find a bracha on shiluach hakein. But in terms of mezuzah, there's a mitzvah for mezuzah. Okay, so that's the idea about the mezuzah and the maika, yeah. Now, in terms of, let's go back now. I want to tell you that the Chazon Ish, Mike has actually asked together with Mr. Devarim. So you're asking the question here of what's the idea in this Gemara. But so it seems that the Gemara is saying it's not gagecha. It's not,
not yours.
On a shul, it's not yours. But the question is, the idea is that maybe someone might fall off, right? That's the question here. So how could, it's a sakana, it's a danger.
Right.
So how could you, right? He says, what's the difference? The Chazon Ish says, what's the difference between a pit bull and a weak ladder, rickety ladder? There you're not allowed to have it in your house. So this is also, right? How could you say that you don't have to build any fence? How could you say you don't have to build a fence on a shul? So the Chazon Ish, he wants to say in the beginning that maybe it's not so dangerous like a pit bull or a weak ladder, because a weak ladder, if a person climbs up it, it's going to fall, or a dog, it'll go wild. But he says when he goes on the roof, he
There's a choice whether to go close to the edge or not.
Right. And what's the nature?
Sorry, what did Michael say?
He has a choice whether he wants to go close to the edge or not. And the nature of people is you're not going to go close to the edge. Most people will not put themselves unnecessarily in danger.
Oh.
Unless you're going to go walk on the CN Tower.
So he wants to say the nature is that when you go on such a high roof, you're going to know to be careful.
Right.
Because that's what people instinctively, stand back, such a high roof. So therefore he wants to say that it's a little bit lower of a level.
Right.
So he says, but in these places, such cases, there the Torah exempted you, happened to be because it's not your roof, but the Chazon Ish wants to say it's a lower level of danger. A pit bull, maybe you can't have that in a shul, or you can't have a weak ladder. But you want to say, but that's at least in a shul, maybe you can have a shul where there won't be a fence on the top. That's what he wants to say.
In shul gets the pit bull.
That's how you know it's the shul.
So that's what he wants to say. The truth is, I'm just thinking another idea how to. This is a great question, because although people don't live in the shul, but you're asking very good. What about the danger? So you'd have to say that Chazon Ish is saying this idea that people will instinctively be careful. So therefore, it's a lower level of a danger, although it is a danger. But he says on this, the Torah said you're exempt. That's what he says. Now, the truth is, it comes up another place also, doing work on Chol HaMoed, right? In the middle of, let's say, Sukkot or Pesach, we're not allowed to do work. So the question is, are you allowed to build a Micah on Chol HaMoed?
Definitely.
So it's interesting because there's a Gemara about it. The Gemara in Moed Katan says that you're allowed to do, but you're allowed to only do it without professional labor. Chol HaMoed, you're really not allowed to work professional. So he says you're allowed to, a person who, he takes out his hammer, he
temporary.
could make a temporary, it's called, you can't do a Maisa Uman. Uman is a craftsman. You can't get a professional builder to do it, but you could do what we call Maisa Hedget. A simple man, he's allowed to build. So, again, they ask the same question. Why can't you build a regular fence? Right? You should be able to hire a real contractor because there's a problem of stakana, danger. He says, he even brings a little proof to his question. He says that we know that you're allowed to work certain times on Chol HaMoed. Middle of the intermediate days of Yontif, you're allowed to work. When? So what's the guidelines?
If you're going to suffer a loss.
You're going to suffer a loss. So the fellow brings down here, he says, if you're going to suffer a loss, you could do some work. So here, there's no bigger loss than if someone falls off the roof.
Right.
So for sure you should be able to, build a fence. That's his question. Now, the truth is, we'll have to think about the question, because when he says to make a Maisa Hedget, he says you could do it like by yourself. So maybe that's enough to protect one. Maybe that could be the answer to this question.
Right.
This question is not so strong like the other question, because here at least you're doing something. Depends how handy you are. That's that could be also.
A non-handy guy could fall off the roof while he's building.
Yeah.
Can't win.
No, but that's true. That's absolutely true. I mean, because he doesn't know what he's doing.
You have to be very
windy,
careful.
It's blowing, it's slipping. Yeah, he's putting himself in danger.
It's very true. No, you have to be very careful. He just. It's a slippery slope here.
Literally.
You mentioned before the size of a house that would necessitate this is 6 or 7 feet by 6 or 7 feet. That's length and width, like.
Right. Right.
And what about,
Height? So I guess once it's
like,
over.
at what point do you need a roof? Like,
How high?
if you have a like, I don't know.
Let's see if he gives us the sizes here.
Like if it's 6 feet by 6 feet, I can't see it being very tall.
6. Well, 6 feet. Okay, it depends how tall. But I guess once it reaches over these 10 tefachim, maybe you got it. After
But
these.
Falcon is like this.
Yeah. But it's still dangerous.
Here, sheer bias. Here we go. The size is 4 amas by 4 amas. He doesn't say the height. Yeah. What do you say?
A friend of mine, he missed a step going down the stairs, the last step, and he broke his ankle.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the step was this big.
Wow.
No, I
Because you
understand.
can trip and fall.
Yeah.
So if you're not watching where you're going and you walk off a roof that's only 2 feet tall, like it's like a step really, you can hurt
That's
yourself.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's true. You have to be careful. It's interesting that this fellow says the same idea also. He says the same idea that a person on the roof would naturally be careful. So he says a similar idea. But we'll have to, it's an interesting idea. We'll have to think about it. But just to end off, I just want to point out one question here. So are you allowed to use that fence now? Question is, does that fence now, you did a mitzvah with it. Let's say we make a real fence. So now we know there's a rules, right, about, let's say, using a mitzvah. You have to be careful not to use it disgracefully. For example, your tzitzis, your talis. So there's rules what you could do with your tzitzis, your talis. You can't use it for any disgraceful purpose. So based on that, what would be with the fence, right? The mica, the fence. Now that you build it up, do you think you could?
I mean, if you
walk?
made a temporary one and put a few pieces of lumber together, can you then take it off and use that lumber for something else?
No, that's a good question. That's going to be a good question. But I want to know. Let's say you get a real professional fence, you put it up there. So you did your mitzvah.
Now you're going to hang laundry from it.
Oh.
Oh,
The question is, does that now become what we call a chefza, an object? Chefza shel mitzvah. Does that become an object of a mitzvah? So here we have a beautiful example. So Deborah is saying, could you hang your laundry from it? Or could you, let's say, stand on like some of the bars? Sometimes you want to get a better view. So you put your foot on the first rung. They always have these little. So do you think you could stand on part of the fence? Right? Your lulav, you got to treat your lulav respectfully.
Right.
Right? The esrog, right?
Does it take on a different character?
Right. Does it become holy
Mhm.
that now you have to be careful about it? Right? Sukkah, right? Sukkah, you have to be careful with it, not to use it for anything disgraceful, right? You can't walk on you shouldn't walk on part of the sukkah. So the Shibali Aleket, he wants to say, he brings us down by Hanukkah also. Hanukkah also we find the candles. You should be careful. We can't even use it at all, but
Right.
we for sure shouldn't use it for anything which is disgraceful. So there he says, the Shibali Aleket says, in Hilchas Hanukkah, over there by Hanukkah, he says, don't use the candles for anything disgraceful. So he says, just like other mitzvahs. What type of mitzvahs? He gives you 3 examples. Micah, tzitzis, and sukkah.
Wow.
That you can't use
That's
it.
unbelievable.
Derech bizayon. Sukkah, right? Sukkah, you can't stand on it. You can't stand sometimes you have, let's say, part of the, if you have canvas, sukkah, you have to be careful not to walk on that. Tzitzis, you have to be careful what you do with the garment when you finish, when it becomes very worn out. You can't just throw out,
Right. Be careful.
Be careful with it. So, can't use it for something, as a let's say,
cloth cover.
let's say for a painter, you're going to paint with your, that can't be. So he brings these 2 examples. So he says, also tzitzis, micah, and sukkah. So he says,
That's unbelievable.
so teach from here, from that Shibali Aleket, we learn out from here that you should be careful not to do anything disgraceful on that fence because it becomes an object of a mitzvah. That's what we learn out. So it's a very interesting mitzvah we got here. So this is Micah, and hand in hand it goes with don't do anything dangerous. Like sasim damim b'veisecha, and there we learn out also to be careful. Any pit in your house, where someone could chas v'shalom fall, right? We're warned. Be careful. I also saw an interesting application to a doctor He has to, someone have to be careful not to go into a patient's room where it's contagious, because that could be putting one's life in danger. Right. This is one of the places where we learn how to keep right. We have to keep guard your health. This is similar to the mitzvah of guard your health. So that's some of the cases that they bring. And by the way, the height, interesting. Yeah, the height of the fence, he says, is 10 tefachim, right? Not the actual height, but he doesn't go. I thought he would say about that. Okay, so it's a mitzvah. We all could do it if you have the right roof. Okay.